Hello, my dear friends and history buffs. This is the 50 Chinese old sayings with Michael. My name is Michael Lu. How are you guys doing today? For today's episode, we will be talking about the old saying that reads, take out the relative for a better good. Again, take out the relative for a better good. In Chinese, the old saying is 大义灭亲. Again, 大义灭亲. This is the story about a father having his own son killed in the aftermath of the killing of a duke by his younger brother who believed he had deserved nothing but the best. For this third episode of the 50 Chinese old sayings, the Wei state was the place where all had begun. The Wei state had a long history to have been there from the beginning of the Chao dynasty in 1100 BC until 254 BC for a total of 907 years. With about the same territorial size as that of the Zheng state in the south, which we had talked about in our second episode. The rulers of the Wei state had been granted the count title in the West Chao dynasty, but later promoted to the duke title in the East Chao dynasty due to their continuous supports to bring the Chao dynasty back on its feet after the Rong nomads' invasion in 751 BC, when the Chao dynasty was forced to relocate its capital from Haojing to Luoyi. From 753 to 735 BC, the ruler of the Wei state was the Wei Chong Duke, who had three sons, Jiwan the eldest, Jijing the second, and then Jizhou the youngest. Jiwan was the first prince and the sole heir to the throne, while Jizhou was the beloved son born to a mistress whom the father had enjoyed company dearly. After Wei Chong Duke had passed away, the dukeship went to Jiwan as the first prince to become Wei Huan Duke, while Jizhou, his youngest half-brother, thought that he should have been the one to inherit the throne from his father. Jizhou was a spoiled and wild youngster enjoying swordsmanship and martial art practices, a terrible combination that when it comes to power struggle in the royal court, to which Shichoi, the father's top advisor, had long warned against over and over again, but the Wei Chong Duke, the father, had ignored him, thinking that it was his family business, which all outsiders should always stay away, knowing that bad things might happen. After the father was gone, Shichoi had quit his job and retired to his home ever since. But there was one problem. Shichoi's son, Shiho, who had been a close friend to Jizhou, and they hang out together day in and day out until one day Shiho moved out of his own house and began staying at Jizhou's. One day in 719 BC, the older brother, after 16 years in his reign, was preparing his trip to pay homage to the Chou emperor, as mandated by the then Chou dynasty's etiquette rule. When Jizhou invited his older brother to join his farewell party he had thrown. But the trip never happened because Jizhou assassinated his older brother by stabbing him in the waist from behind while the duke was trying to pick up the wine cup dropped by Jizhou on the ground deliberate. It was said that Shiho had been behind everything to have made him an accessory both before and after the fact. The coup was a success, at least for the next 6 months, and Jizhou became the de facto ruler of the Wei state by force and intimidation, but not by trust. And that was a problem he had to fix. Jizhou had tried to bring back Shichoi to back him up, hoping that would help stabilize the government because most people had respect for Shichoi. But Shichoi was too smart for that and pleaded with the new duke for forgiveness in light of his being unable to come due to old age. However, he has suggested that the new duke title be officially granted by the Chao Emperor as the common ruler for the whole China during that time. But Jizhou knew that the emperor didn't even know him, let alone bother to grant him the title. To this problem, Shi Choi suggested visiting the Chenghuang Duke of the neighboring Cheng state first, before continuing en route to Luoyi, the capital city of the Chou dynasty, because the Chou emperor knew the Chenghuang Duke well, so that he could help by saying nice things about Jizhou if he wanted to. Jizhou and Shiho liked the idea and started making their travel plans first to the state Cheng, then to the Chou dynasty. Little did they know, Shi Choi, in his letter to the Chenghuang Duke at about the same time, had requested to have both of them arrested on sight in the Cheng state, which the Chenghuang Duke willingly obliged later on when he saw them in the Cheng state waiting to be warmly welcomed by their host. Before Jizhou and Shiho knew what had happened, one government official from the Wei state came in to declare that Jizhou was to be executed by him in the Cheng state. Jizhou was heard to have protested being executed by a government official of inferior nobility ranking, which contradict Chou's etiquette rule prohibiting higher class from being offended by the lower class, but only to be retorted by the executioner cynically to say, "You should have thought about this when you had your older brother killed." Jizhou died only 6 months after he took the life of his older brother. What later on happened to Shiho was even more melodramatic, in that the Chenghuang Duke actually asked the father how he would want his son to be dealt with, to which he rejected any idea of an amnesty, claiming that things would not have come to this tragic end had it not been for Shiho's evil endeavors to abet and incite behind the scenes, so that Shi Choi sent one of his own house employees to do the job in the Cheng state, killing his own son who had it coming. One commentator once said this historical event had opened the Pandora's box for high-ranking masters to be offended by the lower class, which put an end to the Chou etiquette rule as the prevailing conduct protocols for all nobility and the general public at the time. However, the real reason most likely would have been that the father wouldn't want to take the blame for his son as Jizhou's inner circle #1 hitman. Hey guys, this wraps up today's episode of the 50 Chinese old sayings. Take out the relative for a better good. Again, take out the relative for a better good. In Chinese, the old saying is 大义灭亲. Again, 大义灭亲. Many thanks for you to join and listen to this episode of the 50 old Chinese sayings with Michael today. And until next time, I wish you all the best. Goodbye and have a nice day.